It was announced this week that there will be a weekly Mass at Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, weekly Latin Mass at Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, so not very far from here, starting around the consecration, starting during the month of July by a priest of the IBP, that is in French, l'Institut du Bon Pasteur, the Institute of the Good Shepherd. So they're sending a priest to say a weekly Mass. So St. Paul VI parish will open after all. And as you can understand, this is clearly done against us. They close Latin Masses where they don't want them, where there is no use for them to have them, but they'll open them where there's barely a few people who are asking for it, if it is to fight against those who not only say the Latin Mass, but denounce the heretics, denounce the false doctrines, denounce the new Mass, denounce Vatican II, show the truth for what it is. So obviously, I cannot recommend anybody to attend those Masses. There's a few reasons for that. The first is the invalidity, the very likely invalidity of these Masses. Just before dying, Pope Pius XII has established very clearly, if as of now there could be different formulas for the validity of the episcopal consecration, Pope Pius XII has said, from now on, in the Latin Rite, these are the words that need to be used for the validity of the episcopal consecration, and they're required for validity, that is, whoever changes these words, it is not valid any longer. Now, if Paul VI was a true sovereign pontiff, he was entitled to change these words, as he was entitled to change the Mass. But if, as we believe, he was, on the contrary, an enemy of God, well, he wasn't entitled to change the Mass, anything in the Catholic Mass, obviously, and he wasn't entitled either to change the words that are required for validity in the Latin Rite for the episcopal consecration of a bishop. So these priests of the IBP, they are being ordained in the traditional rite, but by bishops who have themselves been ordained consecrated in the new rite, which is very likely invalid. Also, the other reason why I do not recommend, obviously, is that they are the instrument of the enemy. You understand that? From the moment in 1988 when Archbishop Lefebvre consecrated 4 bishops, the Ecclesia Dei Commission was created. So Rome received those who were unhappy with those consecrations and gave them churches, places where they would be able to say Mass, but they would be under the control of Rome. And Rome has used them always to fight against, not so much against us because we are so little, but against the SSPX, which, although in compromise, are not completely under their control. So wherever there would be a Latin Mass, a big Latin Mass that was celebrated without compromise in the faith, they would establish their own Mass close by to try to take away people from the true shepherds of the Church. So they are clearly the instruments of the enemy. Another reason is obviously the lack of teaching the Catholic faith. If you teach the Catholic faith, not only do you have to teach the catechism, it's very good to teach catechism to people, we need to do it, but we need to also show them how today in this world and in this crisis of the Church, there are dangers for their soul. We have to denounce Vatican II. We have to explain how the new Mass is actually a destruction of the Catholic Mass. We have to explain how those who have been pushing these novelties are in no way members of the Catholic Church. So those who go to these Masses that are being celebrated by those under the authority of modernist Rome are actually exposing their souls to be preached falsehood and to be living in compromise. So I believe that it is our duty, as you understand, and that is why you come here for Mass. It is our duty as Catholic bishops, as Catholic priests, to preach the faith to you without compromise. From the moment, I would say, I'm in communion with Leo, I'm in communion with his LGBT agenda, and what want you? Obviously, you would separate from me. Well, it is the duty of Catholic bishops and priests to preach the faith pure and undefiled. It is also the duty of Catholics, to support the clergy that is uncompromised in the faith, and not that clergy which is who is making a deal with the enemies of God.